Good morning, Destiny players, and welcome to a new Bladeburger build video, this time on the Warlock class, unfortunately. I am Bladeburger, your local div bitch, and welcome to the video. This one's all about support and being the fire team's div bitch. If you like this video, do all the goodies that I tell you to do every video, and let's get right into it. To start, this build is focused on support while also giving us more survivability and utility. We use an exotic that is able to generate loads of heavy for the fire team, and also use one of the strongest weapons this game has ever seen to great effect. If you like support, try this build out. The main exotic armor piece for this build is the Cenotaph mask. It has a few exotic perks. The first is that trace rifles are steadily reloaded as you fire them. It also marks bosses, mini-bosses, champions, or vehicles, giving a 10-second timer for an ally to defeat that target. If they defeat the enemy within the time, the enemy drops special ammo for you and heavy ammo for your fire team. What does this exotic tell us to do? We see that it spells it out pretty well. Trace rifles. Pinging enemies for your team. Get free ammo. So with this in mind, the build starts to come together. For weapon choice, we're leaning all into support and using Divinity. Yes, Divinity. The weapon that got nerfed because people who don't know what grass feels like didn't like it. It's okay, it's okay, it's over here. Yeah, you can touch it. See, there you go. You feel better? Want to stop making what I use better because you did a difficult thing once? Yeah, it feels good to let people be powerful and use what they want instead of Banner of War for the 1000th time. Yes, I am still bitter at Young Hamakar's spine nerf. Anyways, Divinity allows constant damage with it to make a cage that allows hits inside the bubble to deal 15% more damage. Every so often the cage will explode, dealing high damage. To sum it up easily, shoot boss for a long time to make bubble that lets allies' guns make bigger pew and make boss dead easier. Divinity is cool and good, but of course we don't want to use just that for everything. This build is designed to be good at general PvE play, so for the other weapons you can pick what you feel comfortable with. Some mods may change depending on the primary, like Kinetic Surge because I'm using Showrunner. Now let's get into class stuff. For a class, we're on Solar Warlock with Well of Radiance for a super. Throw a sword on the ground that makes a healing aura around you that also gives anyone standing inside of it the Radiant buff, increasing weapon damage. For melee, I'm running Incinerator Snap. Snap your fingers and say, "Hey baby!" to fling a bunch of mini fireballs that track on close targets and scorch them. For grenade, Healing Grenade. Yeet a ball of healing that sticks in the ground for allies to walk through, or just yeet it at your allies, your choice. It gives cure and restoration on impact. Pretty neat. For aspects, Touch of Flame. The important part for us is that it buffs Healing Grenade to give extra cure and extra restoration. We also have Icarus Dash because Heat Rises is kinda doo-doo in PvE. Hit your air dodge button to scoot in a direction with a 5-second cooldown. For fragments, Ember of Benevolence. Applying a solar buff to an ally increases the recharge rate for your non-super abilities for a few seconds. Ember of Solace. Radiant and Restoration applied to you last longer. Ember of Torches. Powered melee hits make you and allies near you radiant. Ember of Searing. Defeating a Scorch enemy gives melee energy and makes a fire sprite, which gives grenade energy. Our melee does Scorch, so if Snap kills an enemy, it makes a fire sprite. For stats, run how you want. I prioritize whatever you see fit, however my mods are in place for my own stats. I'm not really a min-max or triple 100s player, so I run some fonts to make up for low stats I have. I'd say go for high recovery for your class ability recharge. Now let's get to the mods. These mods used are very surge based, with almost every armor piece have something that buffs our stats with armor charges. On Helmet, Special Ammo Finder, increases chance of special ammo dropping on a kill, higher chance with an exotic primary kill. We also have Double Font of Wisdom. While we have an armor charge that now decays over time, we get a whopping 50 to our intellect stat. I have only 38 for this build, so it puts me right up to 88 intellect. On arms, Heavy Handed. Makes an overpower on powered melee kills with an awful 10-second cooldown. Bungie, please revert. We also have Font of Vigor and Font of Focus, giving us 30 stat for our stat that determines our melee and grenade cooldowns respectively while we have an armor charge. If you already have high discipline or strength, swap these out for the stat you have the lowest. On chest piece, we need our Divinity ammo, so we have triple arc reserves, puts us to a whopping 561 ammo. On boots, we have a surge for our primary weapon. One for Divinity is not needed as our role is support, not DPS. Replace this with a surge for your primary weapon if needed. While we have an armor charge, we gain 10% bonus damage with kinetic weapons. We also have Double Orbs of Restoration. When we pick up an Orb of Power, gain 13% energy to the non-super ability with the least energy. On class item, Double Time Dilation, increasing our decaying armor charge timer from 10 seconds to 18 seconds. We also have Fonts of Restoration, as my recovery stat is pretty doo-doo. Swap this for Bomber or Reaper if your recovery stat is high. While we have a decaying armor charge, we gain 30 recovery. So there's the mods, and here's the usual overview that I do every single video right after the mods. You just gotta study it, just gotta look at it, embrace it. Make sure to leave a comment about how you love my overviews that I do here. Now, let's get to how it plays. This build was mainly used in a dungeon setting, so I used a different grenade then, but the build still performed very well, allowing my fire team to do a day 1 Warlord's Ruin with very little trouble. The constant uptime on healing and heavy ammo meant that we were able to take more risks and survive a lot longer. During damage phases, a well was always at the ready and I had full divinity ammo that I never needed to reload. We got into a loop during the dungeon where as soon as the scored captain spawned, I would tag one, it would die and drop heavy, then I would tag the other to make even more heavy. Heavy ammo was never a problem for my team and allowed us to kill the final boss in just 1 ascension. Use this in raids, use it in dungeon, use it in the coil. It's an all-star for harder activities and allows your team to deal an absurd amount of damage. The only issue I ran into was regularly trying to get orbs for your fonts. With the absolutely horrible nerf to heavy-handed firepower and Reaper, the build can't consistently make orbs for yourself. You have to rely on your allies to make orbs, and you know that relying on blueberries isn't something that people like to do. That's really the biggest issue. If you play with a regular team or have blueberries that are actually competent, the rare times there are, you'll do fine. If you rock this build, let me know how it does. I'm always looking for feedback on things. Thank you all for coming and watching. Join my Discord. See you all in the next one. Blade Burger out.